Okay, hey guys, thanks again for listening to the Fast Lane Podcast for Success. I am your host, Derek Lane, once again with you. I appreciate you being with me. Today, we will discuss a little bit about being an overly optimistic person. You know, what that means, truly what that means, and some ways that we can better understand, how to drive optimism in our lives on a daily basis. So, I'm excited about this. Let's get going, shall we? All right. Okay, in looking at this, I was reminded of something Winston Churchill had said, that a pessimist looks for the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist looks for every opportunity and every difficulty. Now let that sink in a little bit. I think that's so true. Optimism is the way that you should be living your life. If you have a tendency to kind of lean toward that negative, that Murphy's Law, that anything that can happen will happen, it's okay to do that as long as it's optimist. Anything that good will happen, that can happen in the good way shall be. So that's the way you need to be presenting yourself. Optimists inherently live longer and live healthier lives. Research has told us this. Almost 80% of people that live in a optimistic view will live longer than people that live in a negative or a pessimistic view. Optimist people are people that look for opportunity everywhere, not just in failures, but they just expect it. One of the most powerful things that I did a long time ago was when someone had suggested to me that every morning when you wake up, if you say to yourself, something good's going to happen today, and then you believe it. You just, hey, something good is going to happen to me today. And that's a powerful message to send your brain first thing in the morning, and then set out on your way. So if you're a person that, like, oh boy, it's going to be one of those days, and then you start looking for things to list so you can tell your office cooler talk buddies, yeah, I knew it was going to be this bad when I got up, out of the bed on the wrong side of the bed, so they say, and then somebody cut me off in traffic, and I spilt my coffee, and oh man, I might as well just go back home and go to bed. Well, that's the way that you're viewing things. That's the way that, okay, things happen, but you perpetuate it by dwelling on it. I had a podcast a while back that talked about low energy cycles, high energy cycles. It kind of goes hand in hand. High energy cycle is being in an optimistic mode. And if you learn to live that way, that's the best way to treat yourself. And optimists will look at failure in a different way than pessimists do. Pessimist people looks at it like, here we go again. Why do I even bother? I don't even know why I try. Optimistic people look at it as, that's another step closer to my goal. They look at it as failure is a new opportunity to restart, to engage and kickstart this idea or their success path. They do not look at failure as an end-all. They look at failure as a learning curve, a step. Okay, optimistic people look at their ideas and their opportunities to become more expansive. In other words, they can grow their world, and they're always looking to grow their world. They're always looking to be just a little better, just a little bigger, and they set out on paths to do that. Negative people narrow their world. They want to stay in a cocoon of their one-track way of thinking. Put the blinders on, if you will. Optimistic people don't wear blinders. Yes, they stay focused. Yes, they hone in on things, but they're aware of the opportunities around them. Also, being an opportunist, being an optimist. You can be an opportunist as well. Being an optimist is a great way to let other people know, and they can feel your vibes. When you're truly optimistic about things, they can feel your vibes. They can, you just radiate optimism. More than likely, leaders, team builders, good managers, bosses are all optimists because they thrive on bringing the best out of other people, presenting the best that they have to other people. Being optimistic can be more contagious than being negative. So I hate to compare the two because it seems, it is. It's white, black, daylight, dark, optimist, pessimist. But I want you to be more of an optimist than you already are. Because look, it's easy for those negative thoughts to creep into the back of your mind and to allow yourself to think, in a bad way about things. But when that happens, this is the trick. When that happens, you just shut it down. You just go, oh, there I go. I was getting ready to be pessimistic. I was getting ready to be negative, and that's not me. That's not the new direction I'm taking. I'm taking the one of optimism. Okay? So, it's kind of like for those that meditate and you clear your mind and then your mind starts racing and you think of things. The trick is to stop what you're doing or stop what you're thinking, recognize it and say, well, that's okay. This is something I needed to get out of the way. And then you move forward in your meditation. Same way with being an optimist in life. If you catch yourself being negative and saying something negative, doing something negative, you stop and go, whew, I got that out of the way. Now let's concentrate on being optimistic. Getting tongue-tied here today. Optimists tend to make better choices. Research and studies have shown us that optimistic people inherently optimistic, make better choices in their life. Okay, less stress, less worry, just by changing your thought process, just by changing, and it's hard. Once, if you are around, negative people, you've kind of ingrained yourself into that culture of being negative, and you want to dwell on the negative stuff because, if it puts you in the same crowd, well, that's how so-and-so feels. That's how they feel about it. And I'm no different than they are. It's just the way it is. I'm a reality person, No, there is reality. But see, the beautiful thing about that is you can change it. You can change your own reality to be more optimistic. Again, just by acknowledging it. Okay? And then speaking of your friends, the people that you run with, so to speak, that you're around all the time, make sure you choose your friends wisely. Make sure there was a study of done, and I can't remember exactly, who did it, but there was a study of people that run with, a particular crowd. And these people had the same social background, same age group. And what they found was that the people that ran with the certain crowd, they became that certain crowd. They had the same income, the same type of lives, the same job. The people that ran with people that were a little more on the hierarchy, they became more on the hierarchy. They had better jobs, better relationships, better, community leaders, what have you. But you do truly become who you're around, who you aspire to be. And if you're aspiring to be somebody in your mind you see yourself in a certain way, you picture yourself a certain way, you need to be around that type of person. The person that you can pick up on. The ideas, the views that those people have. If they have a vision and they don't mind sharing their vision, you just got to be around them to listen. You've got to be around people that make a difference in this world, that make a difference in not only their lives, but the lives of others around them, because they're optimistic, and that's where you need to be. You need to be optimistic as well. Stay away from the news as much as possible. The news is inherently designed to be negative. It's set up in a way that, it's got to shock people. It's got to catch their attention. A lot of people tell me that the world is just going to hell in a handbasket. It's just a bad place anymore. Well, it's not so much different in that regard, other than there's so many more outlets now to where we get our news. The Twitters and Facebooks, not just, heck, when I was growing up, there's 3 TV stations, Of course, yeah, they had the news, but, a lot of people skipped it. Well, now it's all around you. You get it on your phone. You get pop-ups of, mass shootings on your phone. You get, pop-ups of, some deranged woman that drowned her kids. All the rough and violent stuff. It's just all around you. It's hard to to not absorb that. Just keep in mind that, it's, the world is a struggling place to perfect itself, but as long as there's optimistic people out there, there's ways to correct all of the injustices. And you being an optimistic is part of that. And you live in your life as an optimistic. Okay? So you can filter some of that junk out. One of the other things I would encourage you to do to be more of an optimistic person, keep a journal, diary, whatever you want to call it. I like journal because I can just jot down some of the things that I've done and said and seen and felt throughout the day. It's a great reminder for me at the end of the day to go back and review what happened, things that I want to improve upon, things I want to pick up upon and build. If someone said something to me and I thought it was a great idea, I don't want to lose that. I'll jot it down. But make sure yes, be honest with what the events of the day are in your journal. But make sure that when you review these things, you review them in positive manners. You review them as a learning experience. If it wasn't so pleasant, view it as a learning experience. If it was pleasant, view it as something you want to repeat, something you want to harvest and become, more of. But a journal is a great way for you to go back and privately judge yourself to say, was I as optimistic as I could have been here? Did I handle that more in an optimistic way, or did I allow some negative emotions and negative talk to overtake the situation? But you get it. You understand what a journal is going to do for you. A journal does a lot. A pad of paper and a pen handy all the time, your journal. I promise you, that alone is a tool to change your life. A journal that you can write things down, keep your notes, keep your thoughts. It is a tool to change your life. I promise you that. Another thing to do is to simply acknowledge what is and what is not in your control. Acknowledge what is and what is not in your control. You cannot control everything that happens in the world. If there's injustice in another part of the country, another part of the world, you cannot control that. If there is injustice within your work and you're not in a position to correct it, don't dwell upon it. Move on with the things that you can control. And by doing so, you may indirectly influence a negative situation to become better just by simply being an optimistic person that is controlling what they can control, what is within your wheelhouse, so to speak. So I would encourage you, look around your life right now, take stock